What would you say if you found out that among the sands of Egypt, a story has survived in which a wax crocodile comes to life? A priest divides the waters of a lake, and the fate of a dynasty is predicted by a mysterious sage. What if these stories are not just legends, but a carefully constructed message about power, divine order, and the right to rule? Deep within an ancient papyrus, almost lost to time, lies a world in which magic and politics are inseparable. A world in which pharaohs rule not only with armies and wealth, but also through miracles, prophecies, and the power of the unseen. This is the story of the Westcar Papyrus, one of the most mysterious literary texts to have come down to us from ancient Egypt. In the heart of the desert, on the west bank of the Nile, rises a pyramid that has outlived kings, gods, and empires. This is the Great Pyramid of Giza, built by Pharaoh Khufu, known to the world as Cheops. But behind the stone, behind the mathematics and monumental architecture, lies another story. Almost lost, written on fragile papyrus, and surviving despite the relentless march of time. It is a story of magic, prophecy, and divine intervention in royal power. It is the Westcar Papyrus. Discovered in the 19th century under unclear circumstances, this papyrus has transmitted 5 stories through the centuries. 5 stories told in the court of Pharaoh Khufu. Each is connected to a particular miracle, and each carries a specific message. But these are not ordinary tales. This is a political map of power, and like any great myth, it does not lie. It simply speaks a different language. The Westcar Papyrus was discovered not in an ancient tomb, but in the hands of the English traveler Henry Westcar in the early 19th century. It is not known under what circumstances he acquired it, and the lack of an exact dating leaves many questions in the archaeological community. After his death, the papyrus fell into the hands of the German Egyptologist Richard Lepsius, who gave it to the Egyptian Museum in Berlin, where it is still kept today. This document is not a funerary formula, and it is not a religious text. It is a narrative. Prose, imbued with miracles, moral lessons, and magic. And that is what makes it unique. The Westcar Papyrus takes us to the royal court of Khufu, where the real and the supernatural do not simply exist side by side, but constantly interact. The artifact itself is made of standard strips of the papyrus plant. The preserved part is about 160 centimeters long, as a significant part of the first story is damaged. The text is written in hieratic script, a cursive version of hieroglyphs used for administrative and literary purposes. The surface is fragile and the ink has faded, making translation particularly challenging. But the text is not simply a list of miracles. It is a frame narrative, a literary structure familiar from much later traditions. It all begins with Pharaoh Khufu, who is searching for inspiration and truth. To amuse him and perhaps enlighten him, his sons begin to tell him stories of great magicians of the past. Each story is set in a different historical context and presents extraordinary events. A priest who brings animals to life, a magician who parts the waters of a lake, a wax crocodile that comes to life, and a prophecy of a new dynasty, foretold by a mysterious sage. But let's hear the stories themselves and understand what their deeper purpose is. And purpose. The first story takes place during the time of Pharaoh Djoser, one of the most famous rulers of the Third Dynasty, who lived around the 27th century BC. The name that appears at the end of this fragment is Imhotep, architect, priest, healer, and sage, a figure around whom history and mythology are intertwined to such an extent that they gradually become one. He was the builder of the first step pyramid at Saqqara and was later revered as a demigod. Surviving lines of papyrus suggest that Imhotep performed some kind of miracle to help Pharaoh Djoser. What exactly it was remains a matter of conjecture, but it probably involved restoration, healing, or supernatural intervention. It is possible that the story was inspired by later legends in which Imhotep was presented as a wise healer, able to control even the elements and human pain. This story, although fragmentary, plays a key role in the composition of the papyrus. It begins the tradition of miracle stories that were performed in ancient times and became role models. The choice of Djoser and Imhotep is not accidental. It is a deliberate connection between authority and magic. In an era when the pharaoh was considered a god on earth, Priests like Imhotep were the ones who could come into direct contact with invisible forces. They do not simply serve the cult, they shape reality through knowledge, rituals, and symbols. The story, even in its incompleteness, affirms the notion that magic has existed from the beginning and has always been in the service of royal power. The second story is told by Prince Khafra, son of Khufu, and future pharaoh. The setting is the royal court of Pharaoh Nebka, a ruler of the Third Dynasty. The main character is the priest Ubauner, a high-ranking scholar, spiritual leader, but also a husband whose loyalty is put to the test. His wife turns out to be unfaithful. Her lover, an ordinary citizen, is invited to their home while the priest is away. But when Ubauner learns the truth, he does not react with anger. He chooses something much cooler and more terrifying: ritual magic. He creates a wax model of a crocodile, small and innocent looking, but charged with cruel intent. The moment the wax figure is placed in the water, it comes to life. It becomes a real predator. When the woman's lover comes home again, the crocodile grabs him and drags him to the depths of the lake. After 7 days, Ubauner takes Pharaoh Nebka to the site, orders the crocodile to appear, and the animal rises to the surface, along with the captured man. The pharaoh does not hesitate. He orders the crocodile to return the man to the depths again, and the unfaithful wife to be publicly punished and burned. Ubauner's deed is not only forgiven, it is approved. This story is not just a demonstration of magic. It is a demonstration of control, justice, and above all, the acceptance of magic as an instrument of legitimacy in the ancient Egyptian world. And it is important who tells this story, the son of the pharaoh himself. In a world where heirs must demonstrate an understanding of order, this story becomes a political act. It shows that order is not imposed only through force, but also through moral clarity and control over the invisible. The third story takes us to the time of Pharaoh Snofru, a predecessor of Khufu himself. Snefru is famous for building not one, but 2 pyramids, including the unique pyramid at Dashur. But this is not about architecture. Snefru is tired and depressed. They try to cheer him up with music, priests, and entertainment, but nothing succeeds in dispelling his melancholy. Then he turns to his trusted advisor, the priest Jajamonk. The solution is a lavish boat ride, manned by 20 of the most beautiful maidens in the palace, dressed in fishnet clothes. They will row, sing, and dance, and the pharaoh will forget about the weight of the crown. But, as often happens in such stories, something dramatic intervenes. One of the maidens drops her turquoise medallion into the lake, a small object, but of immense meaning to her. She refuses to continue singing. The rowing stops. The fun disappears. Snofru orders that she be given another medallion, but she refuses. It is not the same. It is not hers. Then Jajamonk calmly uses a spell that divides the waters of the lake, and in the next moment, the lost medallion shines among the exposed sands at the bottom. The priest descends, takes it, and restores everything to its original state. The songs begin again, and the fun continues. The story may seem light and almost comical, but it reveals an important social reality. Turquoise is not just an ornament. In ancient Egypt, it was associated with protection, blessing, and even with the goddess Hathor, the patroness of women, music, and love. The loss of the medallion means the loss of magical protection, and the girl's refusal to continue is a refusal to violate this sacred order. Secondly, the role of the priest is important. He does not punish, he does not protect, he restores. Here, magic does not serve justice, but harmony. It restores order to a world where pleasure and ritual often go hand in hand. Third, the image of the pharaoh is important. Snefru is shown not as a great conqueror or an untouchable sage, but as a man dependent on the moods of his surroundings. This makes him more human, but also more vulnerable. The story suggests that even the most powerful rulers can be captivated by the moods of those around them. The fourth story is told by none other than Prince Khorjadef, the son and advisor of Khufu himself. It concerns a miracle that occurred during the reign of Khufu himself. The prince tells of a subject named Jadi. He is 110 years old, eats 500 loaves of bread, and drinks 100 beers a day. But that is not what attracts the attention of the pharaoh. Jedi is known for something much more extraordinary. He could restore severed heads, and he knew the number of secret chambers in the sanctuary of Thoth. Intrigued, since Khufu himself wanted to build similar chambers to those of Thoth, the pharaoh sent his son to invite the sage to the palace. Upon his arrival, Jedi was ordered to return the heads of a goose and a bull. He places them back on the bodies, and the animals come to life, without pain, without scar, and without a trace of violence. Impressed, Khufugo asks about the sanctuary of Thoth. Jedi replies that he does not know the exact number of rooms, but he knows where they are. However, he refuses to reveal their location. This secret, he says, does not belong to Khufu, but to the one who will come after him. And then he utters the prophecy. 3 brothers will be born, sons of the priestess Radijay. They will not be of his dynasty, but they will carry legitimate power. They will become pharaohs and will found the 5th dynasty. This is the psychological and political center of the Papyrus. While the previous stories deal with justice, harmony, and the vagaries of royal power, here the stake is already the crown itself. Jedi's prophecy undermines Khufu's power. Without a direct threat, without rebellion, and without a sword, it deals a fatal blow. Your line will not continue. This is a difficult moment, but Khufu does not punish the sage. He does not reject him. He does not dispute his words. The story ends with a tribute to Jedi. The old man leaves with awards and respect. From a political perspective, this story serves as a legitimization of the historical transition from the 4th to the 5th dynasty. And then the big question remains. Who are these children? Where are they? And how exactly will their era begin? The final tale follows, where the prophecy becomes reality. In the 5th story, the scene shifts from the luxury of the royal court to the humble home of Radijay, priestess of Ra. She is pregnant, expecting 3 sons, who are said to have been conceived with divine intervention. It is unclear whether Ra is their father, literally or symbolically, but the intervention of the gods is about to become apparent. At her door, 5 deities, disguised as traveling musicians, Nak, Isis, Nephthys, Meshenet, Heket, and Khnum. These are deities associated with birth, protection, and fate. They want to help Radijay, and she lets them into her home. The difficult birth begins. The first child is born. His name is Userhef. The goddess Meskenate announces that he will be king of Upper and Lower Egypt. After him, Sahure is born. Then comes Neferir Kara. For each child, a prophecy is given. For each child, a destiny is assigned. This birth is not just a biological act. It is a political and cosmic act of creation. Then the gods leave home, leaving behind the seed of the new dynasty. Later, Radijay's maid gets into an argument with her mistress. She is punished and runs away in anger, intending to tell King Khufu what happened. On the way, she meets her brother and tells him the story. Dissatisfied, he also punishes her, sending her to the riverbank, where a crocodile swallows her. The brother then goes to Radijay, who is weeping over the disappearance of the maid. He begins to tell what happened, and at that very moment, the papyrus breaks off. The last lines are lost forever. It is as if the document itself falls silent, just as the world begins to rearrange itself. This final story closes the circle. The Jedi foretells the future, and here the prophecy is fulfilled. Magic is no longer just ritual, it is life. The gods descend and usher in a new power, not through a coup, not through war, but through birth. Myth and reality intertwine in a way typical of ancient Egyptian thought. The birth of the pharaohs is not just a historical event, it is a cosmic correction. The names of the 3 sons are not invented. Userhef, Sahure, and Neferir Kara are real pharaohs from the beginning of the 5th dynasty. This makes the story not just a myth, but a text of legitimation. It explains to the people, to future rulers, and to history itself that the power of the 5th dynasty is by the will of the gods. With this story, the Westcar Papyrus ends, but not with a full stop, but with a break. Just as life goes on beyond history, and power goes on beyond a pharaoh. With these 5 stories, the document doesn't just tell of miracles, it builds a bridge between the old and the new world. A pharaoh listens to stories of the past, and through them understands the future. And indeed, between the end of the 4th and the beginning of the 5th dynasty in Egypt, there is no great bloodshed. There is no dramatic coup. There is no sudden collapse of power in the style of later dynastic catastrophes. But nevertheless, a transformation occurs that changes the character of government. The Fourth Dynasty is the golden age of monumental architecture. Khufu, Djedefre, Khafra, and Menkaure built pyramids that still amaze with their scale. This was a time of supreme centralism, when the pharaoh was almost an absolute god on earth. But with the advent of the Fifth Dynasty, things changed. The pyramids became smaller and more modest. The supremacy of the king began to give way to the influence of the priestly elite. The center of religion shifted to the cult of Ra, the sun god, especially in Heliopolis. The new rulers, Usersef, Sahure, and Neferir-Kara, placed solar theology at the heart of their rule. Inscriptions and artifacts from the early Fifth Dynasty confirm their names mentioned in Papyrus. User-Khef, the founder of the dynasty, is documented in inscriptions at Abusir. Sahur left a funerary complex with inscriptions that emphasize the role of the sun temples, a key religious element that appeared precisely with this dynasty. Neferir-Kara continues this line and strengthens the role of priestly institutions. In Heliopolis, the sacred city of Ra, archaeologists have discovered the foundations of the so-called solar temples, which were not dedicated to dead kings, but to the sun as a divine entity. This confirms the turn to the solar cult, described symbolically in the last story. Historians emphasize that this is not just a change of names in a king list. This is an ideological shift, from pharaoh as a semi-deity to pharaoh as the high priest of the sun. Power becomes more distributed, at least on a spiritual level. Therefore, the fifth story is not an accidental ending of the papyrus. He explains the change not as a political bargain, but as divine intervention. The Westcar Papyrus is much more than an ancient collection of tales of wizards and miracles. It is a window into the way ancient Egypt understood power. In this world, magic is not superstition, but the language of order. Prophecy is not mere prediction, but political explanation. And a miracle is not a spectacle, but proof that invisible forces are behind visible power. Through the 5 stories, the papyrus shows us how royal power needs not only stone, an army, and wealth, but also a story to justify it. Khufu listens to stories about the past, but in them, in fact, lies a warning about the future. Dynasties change, cults rise, priests become more influential, and the god Ra takes an increasingly central place in Egyptian state ideology. And maybe that's exactly why this papyrus is so valuable. Because in it, we see not only how the Egyptians told stories, but how they explained history itself, not as a coincidence, not as chaos, but as a divine plan. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of this story. If you found the video interesting, support the channel with a comment. Share which of the stories in the Westcar Papyrus seems the most mysterious to you: the revived crocodile, the divided lake, or the prophecy about the new dynasty. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell so you don't miss our next historical investigations. And if you know someone who loves the mysteries of ancient Egypt, share this video with them.